On my... See if we can get this fixed. How's that? All right. Hey, there we go. All right. The word of the day is shit. Man, they use that word a lot on Dynamite. I haven't heard any backlash from TNT over it, but they used it like 12 times.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw a tweet in passing that mentioned that, I don't know, something about TNT might have just given them to go ahead. It's just something I saw in passing, and I didn't take a moment to look into it. But I don't know. I don't know. I use "fuck" as a comma, so I barely notice when like other people swear a lot.
Yeah, I don't either. Now that they kind of, if they're going to continue to use it on like a regular basis and not just like sneak one in per episode, then it will seem more natural because that's how people talk.
Yeah.
They like, there's a lot of times where they only say shit once and then it's like, well, this would have made sense to say it like 6 more times than what you just said. But like you held back and used a different word because you can't say it again. It feels
but it's all listen, it's all bullshit until Chuck Taylor gets to say shit on TNT.
Yeah, but now he doesn't want to. Did you see his Twitter post?
No.
His Twitter post said, now I don't really want to anymore. All right. So we're going to talk about Dynamite, but we're also going to talk about last week's Rampage because we didn't get around to doing it because I had a really bad week because I already talked about that. I had network crap I had to do on Friday night and it didn't go as planned. So I was there really late. And then I got up early again on Saturday to drive another hour back to where I was working to do more network crap. And then on my drive home, right when I get onto my road, my wife calls me, told me my dog got hit by a car. So I had to rush her to the vet, but there's nothing they could do. So we had to put her down. So it has been a very bad year within my circle of friends for their pets because our Chihuahua passed away in March. Your Doxy passed away. My Doxy passed.
My dog and one of our cats within 2 weeks of each other. Yeah, been a rough year.
My Doxy just passed. Our friend's Newfie passed 2 weeks ago. It has been a rough year for pets in my circle of friends, and and now it seems kind of quiet in our house because she was the barker. And today we have our golden retriever who is a year and I don't know, 8 months at this point, and she was barking today and I yelled at her using my Doxy's name because she's the one who barks all the time. So I called her Gurr and I'm like, oh wait, that's not your name. So it's been a rough one. So here we are. We're going to talk about Rampage. We're going to talk about Dynamite and get us all up to date and hopefully get us mentally prepared for the G1 starting tomorrow. Or in about 8 hours from now, so it's going to be an interesting. Luckily, the G1 is spread out a little longer than normal. It's going to be spread out over like 34 days or something like that instead of like 26 days. So we get a little bit more stretch of time, but still 20 or so shows in 34 days is a lot.
What else you got to do?
Yeah. All right, so before we get into it, you are listening to the That's Wrestling podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on Twitch and on YouTube. So be sure to follow the links in the show notes for those. Also, you can follow us on the Twitter at That's Wrestling 1 with the number 1 at the end. There's also a link to our Discord as well if you want to come hang out there. And with me tonight, I have back Trae, and you can follow him at Wrestleism.
Hey.
YouTube isn't streaming. I am watching the stream. Jordan in the Twitter wrote YouTube isn't streaming, but I am watching the stream on YouTube and on Twitch, so I am not sure what you are missing, but I clearly see it running. So hopefully that is a you problem. But anyways, you found it over on Twitch, so we're okay. So let's get into Rampage. We're gonna kind of get through a little quicker than normal, but what did you think about Pac and Andrade? I thought this match was awesome and probably the best Andrade match since he was in NXT.
I thought that too. And people got really mad at me because I said this match was pretty good, and I didn't think it was like I didn't think it was like the La Sombra that I saw in 2013. This was still kind of like it was. It was Andrade's, like, it was my favorite Andrade match, like, since the match with Gargano, but it wasn't anywhere near on that level. But, like, it was good. I don't know. I felt like they probably had they have a better match in them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the finish was kind of weak. I don't think you could knock a guy out with an iPad.
Yes. There were some good stuff from Andrade in this that we haven't seen from him in a long time. He did a split leg moonsault, which was pretty awesome, and he doesn't do it the Rob Van Dam way where he jumps from the mat and then does the split leg. He actually was standing on the top rope and then just like dropped and did the split leg. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, he was definitely moving better, and
he did a half twist, or sorry, that was Pac. Pac did a half twist dive to the floor. Andrade also did like a twisting cross body to the floor, and it was like a delayed too. Like he was laid out flat, and then he tucked and did the spin, and then laid out flat again before landing on Pac, which was awesome. Pac. They also did the Tree of Woe spot where the person in the Tree of Woe gets the double stomp to the chest because they're kind of sitting up, but they made it look less contrived than normal. One, because they were trying to get to it anyways, and then it ended up looking better than normal because Andrade was holding Pac's arm to pull him up into that kind of horizontal sit-up position.
Yes.
And hit him with the double stomp. And then later on, he didn't do that, and that allowed Pac to straighten himself out, so Andrade missed the double stomp and went all the way to the floor. So that was really good there. We have a crucifix bomb from Pac going into the brutalizer, and this is when Andrade's assistant jumps onto the apron, and we finally found out his name is Jose. The Lucha Bros come down, and now the ref is watching that take place as the Lucha Bros are dealing with the assistant on the outside. Chavo comes in, hits Pac over the head with a tablet, and Andrade gets the pin. So a little bit of an anticlimactic end right there with getting hit with a iPad and getting pinned off of it. But it did lead to something later.
Yeah, it did. Led to something fairly quickly.
So after the match, Pac was trying to figure out what happened because he didn't see Chavo hit Pac with the tablet, and his assistant and Chavo are filling him in, and then Chavo gets punched out by Andrade, and he is left behind for the Lucha Bros and Pac to do what they will with him, and he ends up eating a double super kick from the Lucha Bros, and Pac puts on the brutalizer for a while, and the Lucha Brothers keep pushing the ref away to give Pac more time to hurt Chavo. Yeah. So Chavo is kicked to the curb by Andrade because he did something behind his back.
Yeah. Well, this was, I think a lot of people assumed that this was the setup. Andrade bringing in Ric Flair to be a manager. And
last night that went down in flames.
Don't think that that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will see if Chavo ends up coming back, like, groveling and apologizing or something.
Yeah, if you guys did not see the new Dark Side of the Ring last night, that was some pretty rough stuff.
Yep. Next we had a Darby Allin Sting segment in the ring with Tony, and Tony says they're here to address the comments from Tully. And Darby says, you want to say Sting is riding my coattails? Shawn Spears, listen to me, you generic piece of shit. Without Tully, you're absolutely nothing. And Sting says, Tully, you've been riding coattails of other people's success. You've been riding coattails of Slick Rick for, how many years? And what about Arn Anderson? You rode his coattails too, didn't you? And then he says, and if you want to look into my eyes, mano a mano, why wait? Let's do it right here in Cincinnati. And out comes Tully. He comes out on the stage and says, look at you two. Look, 2-on-1. You've always got the number games, haven't you, Sting? Talk about riding coattails. Talk about my past and that never happened. And he then keeps talking. Sting isn't paying attention, and Spears comes in from behind, pulls Darby Allin out of the ring behind Sting's back, and Sting didn't see this happen. Darby gets hit with the C4 on the floor, and Tully says, you need to be more aware. And he says, good job, Spears, just like how we planned it, and they run off.
I like this. It's a good little piece of business here. Tully's great.
This was a great distraction, and I like how they did it. And then they redid this almost same distraction on Dynamite with Suzuki and Mox.
Well, it was a little more... I don't know.
We'll talk about it when we get there.
It was different enough.
Yes, it is different but similar. Then we have an Adam Cole video. He says the Elite is, as a group, as a faction, is a group or a faction, but he likes to call it a brotherhood, which is special. And the Elite was designed as a bunch of individual talented wrestlers coming together to show how powerful we are. He says, I trust Kenny Omega with my life, and he trusts me with his life. I trust the Young Bucks. They trust me. Christian and Bryan Danielson are special, and their body of work is undeniable, but they can't keep guys like me, and I'm not even in my prime yet, and I'll wipe the floor with Bryan Danielson. And Bryan says, it cuts to him, and he says, the Elite act and dress, the way they act and dress sound like a bunch of people who are insecure, but I'm not going after all of the Elite. I'm going after one member of the Elite in particular. I've heard how great Kenny Omega is. I've seen how great Kenny Omega is. And then they cut back to the promo on Wednesday. And then he says, I really just want to get in the ring and wrestle. It might be with Kenny Omega, but it can be with anybody. A great thing about every AEW is everybody is hungry. So I'm game. So let's go.
Indeed.
Good stuff from Bryan and good stuff from Cole.
Adam Cole is like, I mean, I know this is not news, but I just haven't thought about it in a while, so I was struck by it again. Adam Cole is really fucking great.
Yes. Next up, we had Jamie Hayter, Rebel, and Britt Baker versus Kris Statlander, Riho, and Ruby Soho. Orange Cassidy was on the outside, and this was hilarious because he had his arms stretched out to catch Riho's entrance robe, and she threw it toward him, but it didn't go far enough, and he made no effort to try to catch it, and he just had his hands out, and it just fell to the floor while he's just standing there with his arms out. It was hilarious. Britt actually starts off with Statlander and tries a couple pin attempts, and then Riho comes in, drop kicks to a kneeling Britt. Oh, sorry. Actually, it was Riho started off. And then Statlander comes in, hits a power slam on Britt. Riho and Rebel are then tagged back in. Riho and Statlander basically send her back to the corner. Riho hits a 619 on Jamie. We get Riho tags in Ruby. She hits a ton of strikes on Jamie. Hits a running kick. Hits a Uranagi for 2. Statlander tagged in. Hits a backbreaker on Jamie for 2. And then Rebel is tagged in. Statlander hits a double suplex on Rebel and Jamie. And then Britt hits a running double knees to break up the pin. Statlander hits a Falcon Arrow. Riho gets on top of Statlander's shoulders. And Rebel throws her body on top of Britt to protect her. And Riho hits a double stomp to her back. And then dives on Jamie on the outside. Ruby's tagged in. Hits her Pele kick to Rebel. And gets the pin. I thought this match was fine. And have they given the name to the kick yet that Ruby does?
No, they're just calling it a Pele kick.
Okay. So we have a few moves in AEW these days that need new names because they can't use their old names. So
yeah,
they need to fix.
And
that.
Several of them are kicks.
Yes.
I liked this. I mean, it wasn't like a super work rate match, but I don't know. I like the dynamic of all of these people involved. The Brit's crew is a good crew, and that was a really fun babyface trio with Ruby and Riho and Statlander. So, and you got Ruby pinned Jamie Hayter on Dynamite. She pins Rebel here, so she's going through Britt's stooges on the way to her title matches. I gotta call it a win.
Yep. They run down the card for Dynamite, but we're going to be talking about Dynamite, and it's already happened, so no use talking about that. We have a split screen with Mark Henry, with I didn't even write who, Brian Pillman and Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. He says, Max, you've been antagonizing Brian Pillman for weeks now, and he says, people keep telling me that he's good, but he's not. And he'll have, Brian says, but he'll have his, or actually Caster says, I'll have my friend Anthony with me. And Brian says he's going to out-wrestle him, and he has the hometown advantage because this was, again, taped in Cincinnati. So there was that.
Indeed.
Max Caster wraps his way to the ring, and the ending of it was Skyline Chili looks like a bowl of and Bowens stops him from saying it. He says, dude, you need to be careful. You're on thin ice. So I thought that was pretty funny. Pillman comes out. He attacks right away, and Max bails to the outside. Pillman hits a dropkick through the ropes to Max on the floor. Brian was going to do a springboard. Bowens grabs the leg while the ref was checking on Max Caster's knee. Max hits Brian with a bunch of strikes to the back in the ring. Hits a knee to the back, a stomp to the back of the head. Bowens pokes the eyes behind the ref's back. Max hits another knee to the back, a drop kick to the chest, a knee drop to the chest. Bowens distracts. Caster hits a back suplex. Brian gets tossed outside. Bowens stomps on him behind the ref's back some more. And then Max hits a drop kick to the spine for 2. Brian hits a boot when Max is running in. Hits a few clotheslines, bunch of strikes. Bowens gets pushed away from the corner by Brian. And then he fights off Caster and then hits a crossbody on Bowens on the outside. Caster drop kicks Pillman off the apron, and Caster misses an elbow off the top. Pillman hits a springboard lariat and gets the victory. After the match, Bowens attacks Pillman, and the Acclaim set up for a shot from the boombox, but Moxley, the other hometown hero, runs out and stops that from happening, and he and Pillman take out the Acclaim. And that is the end of the show. A little bit of a letdown for a final match of Rampage. I would have definitely put the Andrade Pac match last.
See, that I think it's the Saturday night's main event rule. It's a late start, so the main event on Rampage is the first match.
True. Yeah, I guess you could do that. You could put it that way.
Yeah.
So the Rampage was fine. Not as good as previous weeks, but got the job done.
It is still a very enjoyable, very easy to watch hour of wrestling television.
Exactly, and I'm looking forward to it tonight. It should be a fun show tonight because we have some pretty decent matches to look forward to.
Yeah.
Then we move on to AEW Dynamite for September 15th. CM Punk comes out. He is on commentary for the evening. And we kick off the show with Adam Cole's first match in AEW. And that is against Frankie Kazarian. And they're going to have issues getting Cole booed.
Yeah.
Kazarian actually gets booed when he's hitting offense on Cole. It was really a back and forth match for quite a lot of it. Cole hits a Ushigoroshi for 2. Kazarian blocks a super kick and hits a German suplex for 2. Kazarian tries to get on the crossface chicken wing. Cole pushes himself off the corner to get out of it. Cole hits a super kick for 2. Kazarian blocks the Panama Sunrise and just hits an Alabama Slam and a springboard drop kick for a 2 count. And I was saying in the chat, I love the Alabama Slam. It's like, there's nothing to it, but it's such a good move.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, I'm trying to think of somebody. There's somebody in wrestling that's like repeatedly saying that move should be banned because it's just, I think there's no way to like, I think it's very difficult to protect your head on that. But yeah, it looks cool. It looks dangerous probably because it is.
I guess it also depends on how you do it, because like, I think it was Stone Cold. He would put a hand in the guy's chest so he'd know when to release them to make sure they landed flat. Whereas Bob Holly just kind of flipped him down. So it's probably like you got to time when you let go of the guy's legs so they land flat on their back instead of continuing to rotate in your hand.
Yeah.
They exchange some strikes. Kazarian hits a massive lariat. Cole fires back with a complete shot. Ushigoroshi hits Panama's Sunrise, hits what they are now calling the shot, and gets the win. So, good opening match here. It wasn't great, but it was definitely a fun match. And I like that basically there was no like heat spot. They basically went brawling back and forth until the end.
Yeah, I like this. Adam Cole is awesome. Like, I was just really struck by it because I haven't seen him in a while because I don't watch NXT anymore. Frankie Kazarian is like one of those guys that if you know, you know, but if he's one of the guys, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves for being a great and reliable wrestler. And so this was again, you got the difficult because Kazarian is like, doesn't have like a ton of personality, and Adam Cole oozes charisma, so there was the difficulty, getting the crowd to react the way in theory that they should, but it's whatever. It's people are gonna boo and cheer who they like, and but this was a very good match.
Yeah, as far as Kazarian, I think he had one of Adam Page's best matches in AEW so far. If you remember that match.
Did they have a singles match?
They had a singles match, yeah. It was really, really good. I think it was early this summer, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Frankie Kazarian as a wrestler. He is reliably very, very good, and has been for fucking 20 years is the thing.
Yeah. Adam Cole grabs the mic and says, "Who's ready for story time with Adam Cole, baby?" And he says, "Hope is a dangerous thing, and that locker room hopes they can keep up with the elite. It ain't gonna happen. I've been here for a short time, and there are 3 guys that have gotten under my skin: Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy. If those guys are so tough, next week on Rampage Grand Slam, it's going to be those 3 versus Cole and the Bucks. The Super Click is back, and no one can stop us."
I am excited for this because the Elite is great as a 3-man team, but I always thought there was something really special about the Super Click. So I'm excited for that match.
Me too. That's gonna be a banger. We have Lucha Bros and Butcher and Blade promo. Butcher and Blade want the belts. Lucha Bros say, "Well, come and try to take them then." That was basically the gist of it.
Yeah, well, you gotta have your first title defense.
Yep.
Butcher and Blade, I've talked about before. Not ultra flashy, but as far as just they're a damn solid team.
Mm-hmm. And I am very impressed with Butcher, his physical transformation since when he came in to now. Like, he has probably lost 40 pounds, probably.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he was, what was the injury that he was out with, do you know?
Hand. Broken thumb.
Oh, well.
Which is bad when you're a guitar player in a metal band.
Yeah. But I got a lot of time for guys like that. And that match is on the Rampage that we're waiting for, so that'll be fun.
Yep. Tony Schiavone is with Fuego del Sol and Sammy Guevara, and Fuego, now that he is signed, he has gotten a new car, and he says, "But I would put it on the line for the TNT Championship." And Sammy says, "Is that a challenge?" And Fuego says, "You know what? Yeah, it is." So he puts up his car against Miro for the TNT title. And then when they come back to commentary, CM Punk is like, "I'm gonna have a talk with some of these young kids about gambling."
Oh, poor
Fuego.
Poor car.
And did you hear him on Unrestricted?
No.
Oh, it was really good. Like, you learn a lot more about him, and he just seems like a really fun guy.
I need to catch up on those. There was a tweet with Fuego and Sammy, with Fuego face palming, and Sammy's caption was, "When you realize you're gonna have to explain to your wife that you put your new car on the line in a match."
Yes. And he has 3 kids.
Oh, damn.
He has 3 kids. He was talking. This is actually. I'll talk about he was talking about rumors that Cody started spreading about him, but they're always funny rumors. Like, he started spreading the rumor that Fuego del Sol was 42 years old and had 12 children, and Sammy Guevara would back Cody up. So for the longest time, people legitimately thought he was 42 years old and had 12 kids.
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
Next up, MJF comes out to the ring. They are in New Jersey, so he says New Jersey is the armpit of America, and I can't dispute that too much. He says, "I want to address the people that my words may have offended last week. Well, I don't care." And then there's a massive "shut the fuck up" chant, and MJF says, no. MJF says he wants to talk to the late, great Brian Pillman, so he looks up to the sky, and he says, "Oh, who are we kidding?" And he looks down and starts addressing the ground, and is talking to him, and he says, "Oh, hey, and your widow, Methany, gave birth to a sorry excuse for a second-generation wrestler, but he's going to beat up Brian Pillman Jr. next week because I'm better than you, and Brian Pillman's Jr.'s music hits, and he comes out, and MJF sends Wardlow up the ramp towards to expecting Pillman. Pillman comes out from the crowd from the behind with a chair. MJF cowers in the corner, and he delays enough time for Wardlow to jump into the ring and grab the chair. And he tries to attack Pillman. Pillman low bridges Wardlow, and he sends him to the outside. And he and MJF make their leave while Bryan stands chair in hand in the ring.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people complain about MJF's heat. It's all like the old school cheap heat, but it's like, I don't know. To me, it's one of those levels of irony thing. I think it's like it's self-aware that it's all the cheat heat tropes, and I think it's good.
But the thing is, he's the only one doing it in AEW.
Yeah.
So it's not like every single person is doing it. MJF is the one who gets the cheap heat and calls wherever they are the armpit of America or whatever they want, whatever he wants to say. And of course he says really offensive things. Though I would be flabbergasted if he didn't clear some of this with the people he's talking to first, because that would not work very well when you have to work with the guy. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, he can talk and he gets some of the best heat. And I was listening to a podcast and somebody talked about that they were there in the building and the crowd was so damn loud, he couldn't hear anything MJF was saying because they were just drowning him out with chants and whatever.
That's amazing.
They then cut to a Brian Pillman Jr. sit down with Jim Ross, and this is probably the best promo that Brian Pillman Jr. has done. JR is talking about how when Brian Pillman Sr. called him to tell him that he was going to have a baby boy, he brings up what happened last week and said he was embarrassed for Brian and his family, and he hopes that Brian whips MJF's ass next week. And Brian Pillman says basically they didn't grow up the same. Pillman had to fight all of his life on in Cincinnati, where Max had a silver spoon in his mouth. And Max, you aren't just stepping in the ring with any man, you're stepping in with a Pillman.
Indeed.
I thought that was a decent line.
Yeah.
Alex Marvez is with Jungle Boy and company, and Jungle Boy says, there's been a lot of fuss about Adam Cole in the Elite, and I don't get it. Frankly, Adam, I have better friends than you. I have better hair than you. And when it comes down to who's better, Christian cuts him off. So this is a long-running thing. Christian has cut off Jungle Boy's promos many a times. But he cuts in and says, you know what? He's actually got pretty good friends in the Elite, using their EVP status to drag his sorry ass out of developmental and give him a job here. Here's the thing. We accept your challenge, and since you're already good at losing the Wednesday Night Wars, why don't we make it losing on Fridays as well? And Jungle Boy says, see you at Grand Slam, baby.
I thought Christian had some good lines there.
I thought Jungle Boy came off a little bit more charismatic than he usually does as well.
Yeah.
Next up, we had the thrown together team, but a team that works really well, of Matt Sydal and Dante Martin. Is Mike Sydal injured?
I don't know.
But obviously we know Darius Martin is, so Dante needed a partner anyways. So Matt Sydal and Dante Martin, they could definitely be a team if they want to stick around for a while as this configuration while their partners are convalescing, if that's the case with Mike. Versus FTR, if I didn't say that. Little back and forth. Dante goes for a springboard and Cash kicks Dante off course, so he crashes on the edge of the apron to the floor. A little bit of heat on Dante. Matt Sydal gets the hot tag, and then they do a double dive onto FTR. FTR then get the heat on Sydal for a while. Tully gets involved, choking Sydal on the bottom rope behind the ref's back. Dante blind tags in. Matt gets caught in a crossbody by both members of FTR. But Dante hits this massive springboard and drop kicks the back of Matt, knocking down FTR. Dante hits a bunch of strikes, hits this really sweet, like, delayed senton, like he did a delay tuck, so he was laid out, tuck, did the flip. Eventually, FTR changes the momentum in their favor, though, and hit the big rig on Dante and get the victory. I thought this was a fun little match, and it seems that Cash Wheeler is just fine. He did have his arm bandaged up for the match, though later on in the night, he didn't. So I'm guessing his arm's pretty much fine at this point. He might have a little tingly, but it's definitely not as damaged as they alluded prior to the Santana Ortiz match. That's probably a little bit of shoot. I don't think it was deep, but I don't think it was deep enough to snag some of the nerves that run through like the meat of your forearm.
Yeah, this was a hell of a tag match. Yeah,
I love the photo meme that has been going around on Twitter of the springboard drop kick, where it's the picture of FTR holding Matt, and you just see like the knees down of Dante because he's jumped out of the frame because he's jumped so high.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, kid. Dude, that kid is like something really, really special. Like, he's the kind of just thank God that he's in AEW and not the other place, and he's not going to end up like, you know, Ricochet.
Right. I think one of the things I mean, he's only 20 years old, so I'm sure he's going to be able to put on some more mass. But I would try to stay as lean as possible and put the mass on his neck. Go the Will Ospreay, take a cue from Will Ospreay, protect the neck with a bunch of muscle, and then you should be okay.
He's gonna fill out. He's young.
Yep. They bring up the Suzuki incident. So now this is canon. And they cut to Lance Archer and Suzuki. And Lance Archer says, "You want to face Suzuki in America, John Moxley? You want to do it in your hometown? That's just unfair with the bias of the fans and the ref and everybody." So then they challenge Mox and Kingston to a tag match for next week.
That's everything that I wanted. Everything I've been dreaming of. Can't wait.
A little bummed, though, it's not going to be Kingston versus Miro for the TNT Championship and Kingston winning the championship. And I thought that's where they were originally going.
See, I never thought that was where they're going. Huh. So
okay.
I actually was fairly certain that this was the direction.
Prior to the Suzuki incident, was that still your thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. Malachi Black, he makes his way out to the ring. He is in his cloak and head dress, but he is wearing a suit underneath that. And he says, "Members of the House of Black, please rise as we have an enemy in our midst, wearing the color of our enemy." And it's Rosario Dawson is sitting in the front row with a Nightmare Family jacket on. She is on the Go Big show with Cody, so she is in the front row. Black then gets out of the ring and starts walking towards her. And then Cody starts making his way through the crowd, and Black notices this. He turns towards Cody. Rosario jumps the rail and jumps on Black's back, and he's spinning around trying to get her off. She gets thrown down, but Cody is there, and they brawl, and they fight out into the crowd. Cody smashes a beer over Black's head. Black returns the favor, and they fight out towards the concourse going into the commercial break.
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen in that match?
I mean, it makes the most sense to put over Black. I don't think you need Cody to win. And what I'm most curious about is what the crowd is going to do during that match.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Because Black is getting super babyface reaction, and Cody has been slowly getting mixed reaction.
Yeah, if it's me, I think you put Black over again, and I think it would be good for everyone involved if Cody turned heel.
That's what I'm thinking. Do you use this feud to facilitate him heading towards the heel route? He could go kind of the route where he gets beaten down by a lot of the top guys and starts getting frustrated. I think that would probably be the best way to get him to the heel rung of the situation. Because I think if he then somehow got involved with Adam Cole and Adam Cole beat him down, I mean, that's another thing that could happen, and Cole would start getting frustrated. Obviously, he could get beaten up by CM Punk and Bryan Danielson as well. And then,
but there's so many people on the other side, for Cody to work with now. Like, Cody and Moxley have never done anything together. Like, that would be great. Just, I think it would really freshen Cody up to.
Yeah, and that would be good to set up Cody, because then he could go back on his stip for the World Championship. And if everything goes the direction we think, and Hangman is the one that's going to take the title off of Kenny, and he has Cody sitting there as the challenger for the world title on the heel side, that could be a good old school match between the two of them. Hangman is obviously a very mixed old school, new school wrestler, and Cody has a little bit of new school, but is mostly old school. I think that could be a pretty good TV named Dynamite title match down the line.
I don't think they're going to go back on that stipulation.
Even when he turns heel? Because it was a self-imposed stipulation. It wasn't like anything in writing. It was a self-imposed by Cody.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta let that marinate.
Next up, they talk about on Rampage. It's going to be Anna Jay versus the Bunny, and we have a promo from the Bunny. She says Anna Jay, the Queen Slayer, is back. We're all excited, and I wouldn't have attacked her on Dark if she had stayed out of my way. And then they cut to the Dark Order, and they're talking about, we're going to all be out there for Anna's match. And then Alex Reynolds comes in. He's like, what do you... And he's running down Uno, and they all start yelling at each other. And Anna says, all right, if you guys can't get your crap together, then I don't want you out there for my match. And it's just going to be TJ for that match.
Word.
Dan Lambert cuts a promo in the ring with his American Top Team cronies with him. And once again, he cuts an amazing promo. And in the course of this promo, we get about 6 shits. Lambert says, back in his day, the way you found out who the most popular wrestler was you go to the merch stand and find out whose shirt has sold out. Well, in AEW, it more tells me about the fan base, since all the shirts are sold out in men's small and women's extra large. And
now this is the point where he lost me. The idea that men who go to wrestling shows can wear a small t-shirt, come the fuck on, man.
Well, I think he's saying that the men are small and the women are fat. I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah, but the men are also fat.
Well, I know, but I mean that's the whole thing. He's completely facetious about all this stuff most of the time. He says, if the truth hurts, cover your fragile ears for the next 60 seconds and we'll get back to your regularly scheduled program of watching 5'8", 149-pound dorks throwing 22 super kicks, then climbing 3 stories up balconies and doing a backflip through 6 tables on their lifeless opponent, who will still kick out at a count of 2, and you morons will all go crazy. And then Jericho's music hits. And Jericho and Jake Hager come out onto the stage, and Lambert says, cut the music, turn this shit off. These guys don't even know the words to your song. They have to look it up on their phones. Turn this shit off. But the music turns off, and the crowd resumes singing the rest of the song.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, this worked out very well. Jericho says, we could all sing along to your song, but I don't think anybody knows the words to "You're a fat face dipshit." Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he sings "Fat face dipshit." Yeah, yeah, yeah. And "Fat face dipshit," and the crowd goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And he does it again. And Lambert says, "Jericho, I know Tony Khan is the boss around here, but Jericho, you're the master manipulator, getting all these people to spend the money that their parents gave them on your Book of the Month club and your Fozzy records." And Jericho says, you guys get an allowance? Dan, I see you come out here and complain to the AEW audience like a grumpy old man, and you're surrounded by your meathead American top team. So I just have one question. Which one of you are on top? And then the crowd chants, "Who's on top? Who's on top?" Jericho says, "Of course, you have nothing to say. You just have your fists and your scare tactics, but you don't intimidate us. Jake, he's undefeated in MMA fights. And I've been getting in fights backstage with MMA guys my entire career. I got into it with the UFC champion Beast a few years ago. And I had a fight with an MMA trained Bill backstage, and they didn't kill me. And like our friend and honorary member of the Inner Circle, Mike Tyson, said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. So why don't we come down there and knock in those your buck teeth down your effing throat?" And Dan says, "Oh, hold it right there. If you want to see Men of the Year take out the Inner Circle jerk, it's going to happen in a real city, not this shithole city. It'll happen in New York City next week." And Jericho accepts that challenge. So Jericho Hager versus Men of the Year next week in New York.
Yeah, I had something I was going to say about something Jericho said, and I lost it.
It was about... do you know roughly what it was about?
No. Yeah, pretty sure that he's going to, put it on his tombstone in some way that he beat Goldberg in a shoot fight. Backstage. And the fact... The Brock Lesnar... the Brock Lesnar got a confrontation. Jericho is a guy who, And I sympathize with this because I used to be the same way. I don't care if you beat my ass. I'm not, you're not gonna bitch me down. And, that's Jericho.
Yeah, the thing with Jericho and Brock is because he cut Randy open hard way, not knowing that was agreed to by Randy.
Yeah.
Next up, we have a really good video from the Gun Club.
Yeah.
It's Billy Gunn, Austin, and Colton. Billy basically cut the whole promo and says, we're here to talk about the disrespect of the Gun Club, why we attacked Paul White. And then they mentioned that the combination of all of them, so Billy and Austin, Billy and Colton, Colton and Austin, and them as a trio are all undefeated this year.
Yes. Undefeated in AEW.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
Cool. I thought it was just this year, but I didn't check back for the rest of the records.
And Colton is actually
completely undefeated.
Completely, yeah.
They say they need to be respected, and if anybody has a problem with that, just say when. So it looks like the Gun Club want to get some respect and work their way up onto the rankings.
I think they're ranked now. Apparently the new rankings came out and they were number 5.
Which group? Austin and Colton?
I didn't even look.
No. Next up, we had Jade Cargill versus the hometown girl Leyla Hirsch. This match was okay, went longer than needed. A little bummed that Leila lost. in her hometown, but you can't. Every hometown person can't win every time. I thought they might give it to her, but I don't know if you saw this, but right as Leyla gets into the ring, she just walks straight at Jade and just like walks right into her, and her head disappears between Jade's boobs.
I did not remember that.
Oh, it was a hilarious visual. Leyla pulls a double leg. She dives onto the outside, but Mark gets pulled into the way, and he's the one who eats the dive. Back into the ring, Leyla hits a double knee and then a wrecking ball drop kick. Leyla puts on the arm bar. Jade powers her up and hits a power bomb. Layla's thrown to the outside, and Jade hits her with a suplex on the floor. Jade hits some really crappy kicks, and then a pump handle slam, and Jade picks up Leyla, but Leyla moves into a rear naked choke. Leyla hits a German suplex on Jade, and then a dive, sending Jade into the barricade. Back into the ring, Leyla hits a running knee for a new 2 count. Leyla misses the moonsault. Jade hits a pump kick, hits Jaded, and gets the win. So no hometown win this week. And one thing that pisses me off so much about Jade is she doesn't sell like she was even in a match.
Yeah, she's still green, but I thought she showed more ability here that I have been giving her credit for. So, she's coming along. I think she is developing, which is positive.
Yes. Still not TV ready, I would say.
Yeah, well, all the freaking matches that she does on the YouTube shows are like a minute long. They need to this was a good, and I thought that it could have been Leyla could have caught one on her and it would have been good because she needs to face some kind of adversity, but we'll see. She's coming along.
Oh crap, I was gonna say something too. The pump handle slam she did was pretty interesting because it was a face down slam. So it was a stomach first slam instead of a pump handle back, slam on the back. So that was just one thing of note. I'm assuming that was on purpose, and Leyla was okay with it. Usually you don't want to take a bump to your front, but
Right.
Next up, we had an Andrade video, and he says, "If you lie to me, it's because you don't respect me. I'm always one step ahead, and that's why I have my assistant, Jose. I never gave the order, interrupt my match." He grabs Jose by the tie and says, "So tell me what happened." And Jose says, "Chavo told me to get..." And then Andrade cuts it. "Chavo is not the boss. I am the kingpin. I can beat Pac or anyone when I want." So he is mad at Jose and Chavo. He's probably not kicking Jose to the curb anytime soon, but we'll see how it goes with Chavo.
Yeah.
I thought this was a good promo. I really liked what he had to say.
Yeah, me too. I don't know. It's fine. It was fine. It was cool.
Taz and Hook come out to address CM Punk sitting at commentary. Taz like, "You just got here. What, are you trying to take my job now?" And CM Punk starts walking down Hook, and then Powerhouse Hobbs attacks CM Punk from behind. Hook puts on a dragging sleeper while he's holding on to that, and then he lets it go, and Hobbs grabs CM Punk. Hook clears off the announcer's table, and then Hobbs gives Punk a slam onto the table, and it must have been one of those Japanese tables because it did not break.
Yeah, that was rough.
So we're going to have CM Punk fighting Powerhouse Hobbs next week. So that should be a good one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I gotta... You can see that they see something in Hobbs, because he gets to work, like he got to work with Christian right when he came in, working with Punk right when he came in.
Moxley,
really Moxley, yeah,
and Darby Allin, and Sting.
Yeah, dude, Hobbs. I don't know why I didn't think, because I was thinking, because there's a lot of discourse about race representation in wrestling, and specifically some people think that AEW is lacking black representation in prominent roles, and I was thinking, who would I be? I would be grooming somebody to be the first black AEW World Champion, and he's the guy, right? I think he's the guy you groom for that spot.
Yeah, though I would do it as a babyface. I think he has. I mean, he's okay as a heel, but I think as a babyface, he could be significantly better.
Yeah, and he's got. I don't know. He had a really cool story and was a very likable guy. And then they turned him heel. I tell you what, though, I did have the idea. For him, especially him winning the title as a heel, I just imagine like him, coming out on TV after he's won the championship, and then Orange Cassidy comes out and just points at the screen, and they play Orange beating him in 6 seconds on Dark when he was a job guy, and that sets up a first title defense, and then Hobbs can win that match, and it would cement his rise from enhancement talent to champion.
Yeah, I mean, he's only 30 years old now, so he's been a heel for about a year now at this point, right? Something around that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he could hang out in the heel realm for another 2 years or so, and then he'd only be 32 years old, and then you could turn him babyface and put him with the title if they wanted to do it that way too. So he has plenty of time. So,
and he has I'm really glad that AEW has a guy like Mark Henry around, because that's the guy that you want to have coach a Will Hobbs on how to be a monster.
Yes. I mean, and you have, well, of course, he's been a little bitter lately. You have Brian Cage around as well. He could definitely help out in that manner. But he's also been a little whiny lately.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Darby Allin, Shawn Spears video. This is basically Spears, and he says, "Darby, I'm the generic piece of shit." Correct on all of it. But I'm the guy who handed you your first loss in AEW, and history is going to repeat itself again on Dynamite. You can't call down the rain and not to expect to get in the mud. I definitely didn't invent the rainy day, but for the last 20 years, I've had the best damn umbrella. The chairman coming. What the fuck is he talking about?
I don't know, but it was captivating.
I didn't invent the rainy day, but for the last 20 years, I've had the best damn umbrella. I don't know what the hell that means.
No fucking idea, dude. It sounded cool, though.
It's like one of those nonsense lines that it sounded like he said something, and then when you're like, did he say something? I'm not sure if he said something.
Well, maybe that is alluding to Bray Wyatt by just saying stuff in promos that sounds like something but isn't.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say, something along those lines too. All right, next up we have Shawn Spears versus Darby Allin. Darby is the first. Actually, no, he's not the first to come out. Spears comes out, and then when Darby comes out, he goes to sit in the corner, waiting for the bell. But he makes the mistake of looking over at Tully, and this allowed Spears to run in with a knee right off the bat. He tosses Darby to the outside and drags him right by and staring at Sting. He throws Darby into the stairs. Spears then moves the stairs into the middle area of the ring, on the floor, but in between the posts instead of on the corner. And Spears hits a few knees to Darby's head against the stairs. This was so good because Spears kneed the stairs, so it sounded like Darby's head was clonking on the stairs. I thought it was a great and how they did the camera angle. He was basically covering up the shot. Then Spears does like a running knee, but Darby moves out of the ring, and Spears smashes his knee into the stairs. Then back in the ring, actually Spears pulls Darby's leg out from under him and smacks him on the apron. Spears grabs a towel and pours some water on it. He gets into the ring and he wipes off the face paint in an act of disrespect. Or at least that's how they're playing it up. Spears continues selling the knee. Darby sees that. He chop blocks the knee. Spears hits a back suplex and some mounted strikes. Then Spears puts on the Scorpion Deathlock, staring at Sting the whole time. Then we get the classic beat Darby up for a while. Darby hits a drop kick to the knee, a code red for 2. Spears and Darby fight up on the top rope. Darby is yanked down by the chain around his neck that doesn't use a clasp. It's actually, I did not know this. They mentioned on commentary that it's permanently attached around his neck. They fight by the ring stairs that were set up on the floor. Darby hits a flip over stunner back towards the ring, but Spears, who is on the apron, falls back into a sitting position on those stairs. Darby hits a massive dive, knocking Spears backwards off the stairs, throws him back into the ring, hits the coffin drop, gets the victory.
This was good.
Yeah, that was a pretty good match. I like the finish. I like how the Chekhov stairs were there. Nobody took a bump on the stairs, but he got wiped off the stairs and kind of managed to get him with the dive while he was sitting. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, good stuff.
When Darby is celebrating, FTR get into the ring. So Darby and Sting fight with them. Tully comes in, hits Sting from behind with a chair, and Sting just turns around and he no-sells it. But that gives FTR the opening to beat down Sting and Darby. And then they hit Sting with the spike pile driver. And then Tully comes in and wipes off Sting's face paint with a towel as well.
Yeah. My thought watching this is like, there are people who really think that FTR are fucking loving being in AEW. Those guys are fucking having the time of their lives. Like, and they're gonna work with Sting. They're happy as shit about that. I thought this was like, I'm a bit surprised. I'm surprised at how much Sting is wrestling. And somebody pointed out, like, this is more and more proof that he might have exaggerated how bad he was hurt to WWE just because he didn't be creative anymore, which I kind of buy. Because, God, Sting and WWE, if there was like wrestling's greatest failures, holy shit,
right?
But that'd be, Darby to do most of the work. Sting will. I don't know. I'm interested to see how FTR works with Sting.
Yeah, I mean, and the people Sting have been in the ring with has been probably like the best workers AEW has. I mean, Brian Cage gave him a power bomb, but he landed perfectly flat. And then they did the tag match with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, which are probably two of the best workers AEW have. And now FTR, again, two of the best workers AEW have. So they are choosy about who Sting works with guys who know that they're going to keep him just perfectly safe.
Yeah, and I was there for that tornado match with 2.0. It just, holy shit, that was fun.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that match as well. So, as long as you structure it right and you can do all these type of things. And yes, they gave Sting a spike pile driver, but it's FTR, and they're gonna keep him just dandy.
Yeah.
Where do we go? Bryan Danielson, they show the same video that they showed from Rampage, and then Tony's in the ring and introduces Bryan. And he says, the American Dragon is back, and he's now in AEW. And we all heard what you said about Kenny Omega and the Elite. Fans would love to see you get in the ring with Kenny Omega. And then Bryan says, what do you think? And then Don Callis and Omega come out and says, we've heard enough from you, Bryan. We've heard it. We've been hearing it all week. The hippie millionaire, that everybody's hero. What a sanctimonious son of a bitch you are. It was so hard for you to make this decision to sign a big contract to come to the best wrestling company in the world that was built on the back of Kenny Omega. And you say you made the final decision to come here thinking about what was best for the entire wrestling business and everybody in it. And you called me the carny piece of shit. But I take that back because Kenny corrected me. He said, oh, I know this guy a little. He really thinks that. So maybe you aren't the carny piece of shit that I think you are. You're just a mark like all these people. And by the way, you don't get to dictate who gets a title matches around here. We run this place. And Bryan says, shut up, Don. I'm here to talk to Kenny Omega. And you know, someday this will be about the title. But right now, it's about who's better. Let's give the people what they want. Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. What do you say? And Don cuts in. He says, no way. No. And the crowd is chanting, yes, yes, yes. And Don says, no chance. And Bryan says, Don, shut the hell up, you piece of shit. And I came here to talk to Kenny Omega. Maybe I shouldn't have. I came here to fight the best bout machine. I came here to fight the god of wrestling. But since I've been here, I've seen you just hanging out with a bunch of stooges, and you let this piece of shit talk for you. And I've heard the rumors that you lost your confidence. Well, maybe you've lost a step. I don't think that's true. I think you've lost your balls. So what do you say? Yes or no? And Kenny grabs the mic from Don and says, so you want to match with the best bout machine, the god of pro wrestling? Well, here's my answer. My answer is yes. And then we get lots of cheering yes, yes, yes from the crowd and lots of AEW chants from the crowd. And everybody is super happy. We're going to see Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. And we'll skip to the tag because it's happening next week on Dynamite.
What do you think they're going to do?
20-minute draw.
Me too. I would.
That's the only right answer, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Just, okay, as putting my booking hat on, as a booker, I think it would be, if you want to kind of fast track Danielson to a title match, if you must do that, you do the Mr. Small Package thing and have Bryan catch him in 4 minutes with an inside cradle. But that fucking stadium, no, they're going to have a 20-minute banger.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have Kenny lose a second match while AEW champion in the span of a couple weeks. And you can't have Bryan lose his first match in AEW. And since it's non-title, it's going to be a 20-minute time limit. I think they go time limit draw. The only problem is AEW hasn't been doing time cues during the match. So that's going to be a dead giveaway if they go 5 minutes remaining.
Well, if they put it on last, it'll be TV time remaining.
True, they could do that as well. Next up, we had Miro cutting a promo, and he says, Fuego, everyone I've redeemed has moved on to a better career, and after I've forgiven them, they've been smart enough not to stick around. So why are you calling me out? They say don't burn your hand on the stove, or don't put your hand on the stove that has already burned you, but you're putting your throat on the blade that has already spared you. Now you want to challenge God's favorite champion for your car? I'm going to bash your brains in and then bash your car, and your family will always be grateful for me. This is the word of the Redeemer.
Yeah, I think Miro's gonna destroy this car, and I'm excited to see how that happens.
They have destroyed a lot of cars. I wonder if Tony has a hookup for cheap cars, though, that still look good. Miro, once again, delivering like one of the best promos of the night. If he is not writing these promos himself, or if he's working with somebody, good on whoever is doing that.
Yeah, Miro's great.
We have a Matt Hardy video. He says, Orange Cassidy, you broke my nose, so now you owe me a debt, and I always collect my debts. Orange Cassidy, you've made a mockery of wrestling for so long. Everything that I've lived for, I'm going to take everything that makes you cool, starting by shaving your head and turning Orange Cassidy into Orange Egghead.
Orange Egghead. I bet he stayed up all night for
that. Then they run down the next few shows. So for Rampage, that is happening in 50 minutes from when we're recording this. Butcher and Blade versus the Lucha Bros for the AEW Tag Team Championship. We have Anna Jay versus the Bunny, and Miro versus Fuego del Sol for the TNT Championship. So that's happening tonight. And then next week, Dynamite Grand Slam. It's going to be Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. CM Punk interview. Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. MJF versus Brian Pillman Jr. Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker for the AEW Championship. And FTR versus Sting and Darby Allin. And then we have a 2-hour Rampage next week. So the second half of the Grand Slam shows. And what we already have announced is Adam Cole and the Young Bucks versus Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. CM Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs. And Men of the Year versus Jericho and Hager. Lots of good matches coming up in the next 8 days.
And that huge crowd in front of that tennis stadium, man, that's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah, it looks like they're gonna have like a short stage, and people are gonna be like, there's like seats behind the stage that are gonna be sold. So I'm guessing they're gonna have some sort of like, you know how they used to do Madison Square Garden with just the opening entrance and then everybody packed in.
Yes, and I love that.
I think it's going to be similar to that for this show, because they are packing as much as they can into that stadium.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be a good one. So we then go to the final match of the evening, and this is Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus 2.0. And I heard that the delay, or what Moxley was telling Kingston when they were coming out to the ring, and he like held them in place before they started going further into the crowd, was Eddie, they're all cheering for you, and this is what you're here for. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, that's one of the things like they've been talking about with like Kingston, like had no idea how over he was until live crowds started to come back, and all that. 2.0 and Daniel Garcia attack Moxley and Kingston right when they get into the barricades. They get them from behind before they can get into the ring. Moxley eats a suplex on the floor, and Moxley and Parker get into the ring to get the match official. Moxley throws Parker around a bit, then throws Matt Lee around for a bit. He bites Matt Lee in the face, and Lee starts backing up the stage on the outside, and Moxley starts to follow. And Danny out of the side gets thrown into the ring stairs by Moxley. And then this causes enough of a delay. Parker hits Moxley with a drop kick from behind. 2.0 go to work on Moxley for a little bit. Then Moxley wipes out Lee with a massive clothesline, gets a tag to Eddie. He beats up 2.0. Exploder to Lee. Backfist to Parker. DDT to Lee. Moxley tagged in, and Moxley and Kingston hit the Violent Crown for the victory.
Yes, indeed. Fun little match.
Yeah. And it's sitting at 4 minutes before the end of the show. So while they're celebrating, Suzuki's music hits and he strolls on down to the ring. And when they sing Kaze Ninare, Archer yanks Kingston out of the ring from behind, and Suzuki attacks Moxley. Archer and Kingston brawl out into the crowd. Moxley and Suzuki fight around ringside. They fight over by the timekeeper's table. They fight on the timekeeper's table. Moxley wants the pile driver, but Moxley gets out of it. Or did I say Suzuki wants the pile driver? Moxley gets out of it and hits Suzuki with the microphone that was laying on the table. And then they brawl into the crowd, and they just keep brawling, and they go off the air while the brawl is still going on in the crowd. I love that ending where the brawl is just going, and they're like, we gotta go, we gotta leave.
Yeah, I like that.
So Suzuki gets his full entrance, and everybody gets to sing, and they use that as a distraction for Archer to pull out Kingston.
Yes. Poor Eddie didn't even get to enjoy the moment.
Right. Overall, I thought this was a really fun show. Super easy watch. It flew by. They had a big mix of matches and promo segments, and all the promo segments were, quick and to the point and move things along. They cram so much stuff into a 2-hour show. It's pretty amazing at this point.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good stuff on this show.
Anything you want to address before we wrap it up and go watch Rampage in 40 minutes?
Yep.
That was a answer that requires you to continue speaking if you say yep.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I said, do you have anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up?
No.
No, okay. That's the correct answer, to not say anything afterwards. All right, everybody. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for the double episode here. We're going to be heading into the G1. I'm not sure. Are you going to be around for Rampage tomorrow evening coverage?
Probably.
All right, so stay tuned to the Twitter and the Twitch and YouTube channels for that. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, head over to the YouTube and Twitch channels. The links are in the show notes, and subscribe to those channels so you know when we're going to go live, because that's where we do the show live. You can join the chat and all that fun stuff. Comments, questions, feedback, you can send those to eric@thatswrestling.com or get us on the Twitter @thatswrestling1 with the number 1. There's also a link to our Discord, so you can come hang out, talk wrestling over there, and a bunch of my other hobbies as well. So for Trae, you can find him over at WrestleIsm. My name's Eric. You've been watching and listening to That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.